Donnie and Dolly, the team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All of our guests today sponsored by Bassan Motors. This spring, take a break from payments with a new-to-you vehicle. Learn more at basantmotors.com. I'm just looking at my notes for the Kent Johnson interview. At the end, I mentioned that you've got a game Friday.
Yeah.
And I couldn't remember who they were playing because in my notes I had the Jackets host Columbus on Friday.
Oh, boy. You're rattled today.
I am. The tie thing and...
Well, him throwing
You were also going to ask Kent about Shea Theodore's goal last night, if he thought it was impressive at all.
Ryan, you can't...
It's unbelievable. Like a teammate throwing another teammate under the bus in front of everybody, in front of our 20 viewers.
Our group chat has to stay private.
Oh, trust me, most of it, you're right.
Yeah. Can we bring in John now?
Yeah.
NHL analyst, co-host of the Bob McCallum podcast, big Shea Theodore fan. John Shannon joins us now. How are you, sir?
You know, and I was actually going to mention him today simply because I thought the goal last night was spectacular.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you, John.
And the goal against the Canucks last week, the one that last-minute goal that tied it was really good. And I know he can't win the Norris Trophy, but I think that Shea Theodore is deserving of some Norris Trophy votes when you think that the ballot is 1 to 5. And I would not be surprised to see him get a few votes for it because he doesn't get very much notice for what he does for the Golden Knights.
Well, I think that goal last night might have pushed him over the edge. There you go. He gets the Norris, John.
Yeah. Well, it was against TJ Oshie, though.
Yeah.
By the way, Donnie, I must apologize. Had I known you were wearing a tie today, I'm old-fashioned enough to say I should have worn a tie today.
Yeah. What happened to ties? I guess
I love ties. I love ties. I think they're great.
I agree. I've got a million of them from back in the Sportsnet days.
I have about 1,000 around the corner here.
Yeah. Well, between the two of us, we have 2,000 then. Hey, Oilers beat the Stars 5-2. Edmonton 8-1-1 in their last 10. Their goaltending has improved. Can they make noise in the playoffs, John?
They can. I think that what Woodcroft has done there, and yes, the goaltending has improved. Both Mike Smith and Mikko Koskinen are making saves at the right time, but their team defense more than anything has improved. And one of the guys that really has changed a little bit of the narrative there, particularly in the last 15 games, is Duncan Keith. He's not trying to do too much. They've got him paired right now with Evan Bouchard, and he's being the teacher to the tutor to the student, and I think he's doing a pretty good job there from that perspective. But yeah, they can. When you have that much firepower, and then you can manage the defensive inefficiencies you've had, then you can make a difference. The problem becomes, and it's a similar conversation that you have with the Maple Leafs, is can they play playoff hockey? Are they tough enough? Do they have the durability to play playoff hockey? And that will be a question that a lot of people will ask when, although we don't think the rules change, but the style of hockey changes.
I think I've got this right. Duncan Keith, a career high +5 last night, which is saying something considering the Chicago teams he played on. Alex Ovechkin with his 9th 50-goal season. John, how does he stay so productive at the age of 36 when you look back 3-4 years ago, we were expecting him to fall off? He hasn't.
Physical specimen.
Yeah.
When you look at, I did this last night because my buddy Dave Gosher was calling that game in Vegas last night, and he was raving about the numbers that Ovechkin had, and then I started looking at it over the 17 seasons. He's missed less than 35 games in 17 seasons.
Wow.
And I would tell you that most of those, or maybe 20 of them, are due to suspension, not to injury. So the fact that he has stayed so healthy over that period of time speaks to his physical ability, but the fact that he doesn't miss many games over that period of time, less than on average two games a season, it truly is amazing particularly for a guy that plays the game the way he did for so many years, so physical.
Hey, John, got to ask you about Bruce Boudreau. Seems to be a little bit of a shift in the last week or so. I'm starting to hear maybe that he could be back, but not 100%. What are you hearing?
Well, there's nothing there yet. But the moment that this team has gotten this close to a playoff spot, and by the way, right now is the playoffs for the Canucks, let's face it, right? Mm-hmm. He's done an amazing job. And so the question then becomes, is there a mutual agreement, both on Bruce's side and on the team side, that something should be extended? I truly don't think that anything will be decided before the season ends. I think that's a big enough discussion. There is an option on both sides. The team have an option. Bruce has an option. I think we're just gonna have to sit and wait and see. If I'm the Canucks, I'd be more aggressive with them. I'd be saying, hey, listen, we want you. We need you. We think it's important. And then you have to figure out the dollar figure. And, the number I'm thinking of that Bruce could probably garner now is probably somewhere in the $12 million range over 3 or 4 years. If it's, 3 years at $4 million a year, or 3.5 for 4 years, something like that. I think that's where the money's going to have to be. And I don't think that's an issue for the Canucks, but Bruce will be close to 70 by the end of the contract, and you do wonder what kind of concern that has. To me, this is a no-brainer, guys. Sign the sucker. Sign him. He's a good guy. He's done a good job, and the fans love him. And we know how passionate Canuck fans can be. Sign him. Get it done.
Absolutely. A lot of people are surprised here. 5 games left, John, and the Canucks are still, they're hanging in. A lot of people thought they'd be done in March. What about this?
January.
But what does it say about, what the way they've been playing and hanging in?
Well, obviously Bruce and Scotty Walker particularly have done a really good job. The guy in changing attitudes. We've touched on it before. Thatcher Demko has been brilliant as the goaltender. Maybe the best goaltender in the NHL since January 1st, really. I'm not talking about numbers. I'm just talking about key saves at key times. But then you start looking at the roster, and so who brought Miller in? You gave credit to Mike Gillis about Horvat. There's a lot of guys on this team that Jim Benning brought in. And there's a lot of credit to be given to previous administrations for the construction of this team, and now it's what Jim and Patrick and Bruce are doing to create a positive environment for the club. So there's a lot of people that deserve some credit for putting the pieces in place, but really it's that last group of guys that have done a good job executing the plan.
I totally agree, John. Very quickly, we haven't had you on. Well, we had 4 days off on the weekend, but we haven't had you on since Mike Bossy passed away. Just your memories of the late, great number 22.
Well, one of the biggest memories I have was at the Coliseum, and in many ways he viewed it as the greatest goal he ever scored. Not the 50 and 50. Or any of the goals he scored on Long Island, but it was that goal diving towards the net past Richard Brodeur in the series against the Canucks. He viewed as the greatest goal he ever scored, and I was there for that and to produce all 4 Islanders Stanley Cup series. So I have a special spot for most of that team. And what Mike Bossy was, he was the ultimate professional, a great athlete. He was strong-willed. He had really big opinions that he stuck with. Yeah. The anti-fighting position was one that was really important to him, and he made a huge impact on the game both on Long Island and in the province of Quebec. He's received a ton of accolades, and they were well deserved. And I hope his family has been able to take some solace in that while they had this difficult time.
Short, tremendous career, John. Thanks so much for this. We'll talk to you next week.
751 games. Yeah, 751 games.
Yeah.
Amazing the amount of goal scoring. Amazing.
Yeah,
Cheers,
yeah,
boys.
Yeah, you bet, John. I think third all-time in points per game average, Mike Bossy, all-time in the National Hockey League. He mentioned that 82 Stanley Cup final. If I'm not mistaken, Mike Bossy was the Conn Smythe Trophy winner.
He was that year.
That year as the Canucks get swept by the Islanders in the Stanley Cup final.